we're taking the Land Rover to the Nurburgring.
Yeah, I think vibrations are getting quite considerably worse.
I've never been to a town where there's just no one.
We don't have Lee or Elliot. Rubbish.
Lee has been pulled over by the marshals, so now the marshals are holding him until the police arrive. Hello and welcome to another episode of Laurence and the Machine, and this time we're taking the Land Rover to the Nurburgring. So as you join me now, we are in the north of France and we are about 4 hours away from our accommodation tonight in Germany, and then tomorrow we've got the entire day on the ring. We've done a day's worth of driving already, so let me get you caught up with the journey so far. Yes! Laurence and his machine! We made it literally an hour down the road. And I'm going to just trap him.
Yes, there you go. What are you doing?
Just fixing it. Preventative maintenance, that's all.
We are on the way.
You go to sleep, Lee, you'll be there before you know it.
Stupid idea, this. Yeah, who actually decided we were going to the Nurburgring?
It was Lee. Good afternoon. Yes, we've done it. We're through. But before we go too much further, you may have noticed I've got a couple of people with me, so let me introduce you to them.
You already know about my car, so first up we have Tom's custom-built 100-inch Defender. This car has an M57 in it, just like mine, but with an 8-speed gearbox behind it. That produces round about 400 horsepower, so it's pretty rapid to say the least. Then we have Lee's tractor, Discovery 1 200 TDI. It's actually a Camel Trophy replica. This is just a Bogo standard 200 TDI that produces, I think, round about 6.3 horsepower on a good day. Next up we have this Nissan Micra, driven by Elliot. I don't really know much about this car, but what I do know is that it's slow. Then finally we have Luke's Nissan Patrol, which is roughly the same spec as Tom's 100-inch Defender.
Now, the interesting thing about Luke's Patrol is that just 2 days ago, it didn't have an engine. And that means that this 1,400 mile round trip to the ring is going to be its maiden voyage. I know when I put my engine in this, it took me around about a month to fault find and get it exactly how I wanted it to be. And I know already that this trip is going to be exactly that, but for the Patrol.
After the short drive through the north of France, we headed into Belgium, where I had a realisation.
It's big Europe. Really is very big. Feels like we've been driving for 8 hours now, but we've only been driving for 45 minutes.
Because Belgian motorways were so boring and long, we thought it'd be a good idea to turn off and use the roads through the countryside.
Now you see, the thing is, when you're on the motorway in Land Rovers, and especially the tractor, you're only really doing 100 kilometres an hour or 60 miles an hour. And you can do those sort of speeds on roads like this alongside the motorway. And you get the scenery.
And I'm glad we did turn off, because we found some of the best driving roads we'd ever been on.
The Camel and the Micro are really struggling to keep up with the big boys here.
And eventually, we'd left them behind.
We don't have Lee or Elliot. Rubbish.
But this didn't matter, because quite soon, Luke decided to have his first breakdown of the trip.
The problem that he's got is that his gearbox isn't automatically changing gear, so he's having to drive it in manual mode all the time. But I think what he was saying before is that it stopped selecting some gears altogether, and there's not really much we can do about that out here in the middle of Belgium. So what he's doing now is changing the gearbox oil in the hope that that helps it in some way. I don't think it will, but it can't make it worse at this point.
After the impromptu oil change was done, we pushed on further into the beautiful Belgian countryside. But very soon we realised that the towns we were driving through were totally empty.
So far, I don't think I've seen any people in this village, only dogs.
There's just no one about anywhere. It's lunchtime on a Friday afternoon. You would have thought someone would be walking about.
Where are the people?
It's actually quite spooky. I've never been to a town where there's just no one. Absolutely no one.
After driving through the set of The Last of Us, the world's greatest linguist Tom took the lead.
We're going left here towards Brilliant. We're going right here for Louette. It's something or other.
So we're going for Rudy Gendidine.
Because he'd found some green lanes for us to explore.
We've got no roof then.
Once the French teacher had worked out the road signs, he then had to work out how to read a map, which she seemed to struggle with.
That was where the dead end was. We should have gone left there. Yes, I don't think this is the way, Lee. Very undescriptive where it goes. Yes, maybe we should turn around. Yeah, there was like a bit of a left road there. We should have gone down that. We're going back to the road. No, we're not following this track. We're going the wrong way.
The navigation skills on this trip is subpar at best.
Since he'd taken us the wrong way for a couple of hours, Tom thought he'd make up for it by giving us a science lesson.
This 8-speed gearbox is very nice for. You're gonna have to do an upgrade, Laurence.
To be fair, it's not just an easy swap in the box. You do need to change the ECU to make it run. So you might as well fit a lambda sensor as well then. And then your alternator won't work out. Well, it will. It'll work like mine. It doesn't really work very well. I don't know if it's got a code for it, but it used to have a code that said it wouldn't communicate with the ECU for some reason. What I really wanted to do is I wanted to work out what happens on the BSD to the alternator and make my own so that I can make it fire out whatever.
After Professor Tom had finished his interesting lecture, time was getting on, so we rejoined the motorway and headed for the accommodation. And as we neared the end of Belgian roads, we found some tunnels to play in.
Here goes Luke. Are you ready for this? So we're now about 10 minutes away from our accommodation for the evening, and we have got a bit of tinkering to do tonight once we get there. before we fire the cars around the ring tomorrow. So I'll see you in the morning for the big day. I'm going to attempt to go round the ring in under 12 minutes. Lee has been pulled over by the marshals, so now the marshals are holding him until the police arrive. This could get expensive.